right, we are live.
Just like that. Jeff, who's having some internet connectivity issues, is on a golf cart right now. Am I correct in calling that a golf cart, Jeff? Or is there a more appropriate name for it?
As a Ranger.
Polaris Ranger. It's my horse. That's how I get around.
You gotta get up to that high mountain so you can get that good connection.
We'll do a little walk around. Here's this piece of equipment. Y'all have been seeing it in the videos.
Oh, there we go.
I got y'all.
I've heard about these. I've heard about these things.
We'll real quick walk around. Yeah. A couple new tubs.
The hopper looks pretty clean. It's looking pretty good.
Yep.
That'll be this Wednesday's video. Stay tuned. Hey, can any of you guys see the comment section? I don't see anything in the comments. I don't know if I've got mine properly open right now.
Yeah, Craig.
Chat.
Oh, there we go. Yep. Now they're starting to pop up.
Oh, here we go.
There's JT.
Oh, JT's here. Right on. Craig's here. Excellent. So what's new, guys? What's going on? Where do you want to start? It's been like 3 months. Where do we want to start?
Happy Memorial Day.
That's right. Yeah.
For those Americans, anyways. I don't know.
Yeah. We had our long weekend last weekend, so.
Yeah, I should give a shout out to JT here. He sent me the Pootsmeister swag. So, and I was hoping he would be here because I wore it intentionally for him to see it. So.
Isn't that like the nicest hoodie, Caleb? I messaged him about those, and he said that he told corporate, no more cheap apparel. We're only getting the good stuff. And
yeah, these are so nice.
Yeah, the same Carhartt. It is so nice. That's going to be my my fancy going out for dinner hoodie.
I got it in the mail, and my wife said, "You're not wearing that to work. You're not wearing that in the garage. Like, you're going to keep that one nice."
Yeah, it is a beautiful piece of apparel.
Yes.
That's kind of like Matt's shirts. I've been wearing these Mud Demons. They're very comfortable, and I've run a couple already. So I'm gonna have to just have them just send me 2 or 3 once a month, I guess.
I kept the tee and I put the hoodie on Ian. Ian's loving the Mud Demon hoodie.
Yeah,
he's a happy camper. It was good for morale. Thanks, Matt.
You bet. We can give a few away tonight. You guys pick a couple people out of the lineup that think of some question to ask or something, Scott. You're good at that off the cuff.
Oh, I like that. Well, actually, you know what? This is great, Matt, because Caleb's video yesterday, he admitted to chopping his sponge and losing, being the first one out of the sponge ball challenge. Had thrown it out there that in the comment section here, the commenters, we should decide what the punishment is. So I say, whoever comes up with the best punishment definitely gets a Mud Demon hoodie.
Well, am I going to be the judge of that? Because is it the best or the worst?
Well, the best will be the worst. That's kind of how it works.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure before his video, though, Scott, you kind of gave up or said that we should all give this thing up.
I've had enough of it.
I wasn't gonna let him give it up because I lost. It was probably a decent amount of time ago, and I was always hoping that I would be able to use that ball again, and it's just not gonna happen. I don't want to use it.
I see you tried to do it.
I was probably the first one that wanted to throw the towel in.
I wasn't gonna say it.
I definitely got sick of the thing, but I still have it and I still use it on occasion. But it forced me to figure out better ways to use a sponge ball, which I think the best way is putting it in a plastic bag. That's probably my second favorite way now. The bag, the empty bag of the Portland mix, man, that's my favorite way. So, but putting that sponge in a great little plastic sack is definitely the best way.
I was so convinced we were going to convert you over to Bentonite, Jeff, and it just didn't pan out. I was so confident.
No, and I can't wait to come up there in July and show y'all how to actually use the mortar mix.
So I've got a buddy who runs a ready mix outfit, Jeff, and I'm hoping when you get up here in July that maybe we could get in there on a Saturday and get him a few cases of beer, and he'll throw us a mixer truck and a couple yards of concrete, and we can play around with it in their yard and do a bunch of prime out tests, do a whole bunch of concrete science. I think we could have some real fun with that.
Which I think will be good. I think the problem though is, once you prime out hose and get it hydrated, I think it's going to be skewed a little bit because of that versus using dry hose on every test.
So I thought about that, Jeff, and I think what we do is whatever primer we use first, it also is going to get a rerun last, just to try and to eliminate that margin of error. So I've been putting some thought into this.
Right.
I think we'll get it sorted.
Right. Sure. And then I hope you're coming to Texas in October, and we're going to try to repeat that here. So
yes,
with our mixes. And
I'm going to be lost. I'm going to learn a thing.
I'm gonna order the trashy mix too. We're not going to use no damn pea gravel. We're getting mad sand and crushed limestone.
That's about all you have is what we would call the trashy mix. But by our standards, if it won't go through a 2-inch hose, it's trash to me, man.
Well, we might use a 2.5. We're not going to put it in 2.
So what's the
where's Dan at?
Dan's on a flight back from Calgary, so he's in the comments section right now.
He's fixing to load on the plane, he said.
He is. He might be in rough shape after yesterday's YouTube vid too, where I don't know if you watched that one or not, where he and I had a little side bet about a half a bucket of grout, and it didn't pan out so well. So I don't know what kind of headspace he's in right now. I'm sure he'll get over it, but it didn't work out as well.
That still wasn't a fair deal. I'm with Dan. I think that the mix y'all put in, that y'all mixed for Dan, was good. The problem is y'all put it in the hose and not in the reducer.
Yes, I also agree with that statement.
I would too.
Yeah.
I've tried it with the hose and no success. You got to go into the pump first.
So I would normally agree, but my diagnosis, the first thing that came out of that hose was about 2 handfuls of straight rock. So I think that the rock just got past the primer because of the downhill. I think that our error or our fault was not putting a couple plastic bags in place.
Let me ask you this: was this Ian's hose, or was this the hose you normally use?
Come on, Jeff. Do we want to go there? Ian's not even here to defend himself. It was Ian's hose. So yeah, I mean, there is, I'm not one to say that there was rocks in the hose from a previous job, but it was Ian's hose.
Well, I'm just saying.
But I think a couple plastic bags would have done the trick there for sure. But like you guys say, I agree. It is always better to put it right in the back end. Just when we've got that multiple elbow arrangement on the back, it's kind of tough to do without having like a short 4-inch pipe with a prime port welded onto it. How else do you get the material in without it spilling? I guess you could toss some in the elbow before you attach everything else and twist the elbow down, and a certain amount at least would stay in that S tube. So
that's why Jeff wanted
that's
the
the trick.
490.
That's the trick that I use is, and if you watch them, videos when I pour it in, I make sure that my reducer stays up to where my mix doesn't go down to where my water is, because I put 2 or 3 gallons of water in the hose ahead of the mortar, and I kind of wonder, we need glass hose, because I kind of wonder if there's maybe air buffer that gets between water and mortar, that it doesn't ever mix. It just starts going up and down. Then it'll start mixing, but for most part, it switches. Unless you're getting
what about even
your mortar mix.
What about even like a 20-foot lengths of PVC, clear PVC pipe, and we could do some science? we'll tack a couple ends onto it somehow. Put some concrete through it at low pressure just to see see how it behaves. See what really goes on inside there.
I think we need 50 feet.
Hmm.
I think it takes 50 feet to do that.
It sounds expensive now.
There's a grant somewhere in
Yes,
this. We
those.
could get a grant.
Oh, Dan says he's giving me my gloat time. I think Dan has been right in a lot of my videos about a lot of things, so I think it's been pretty fair. I think we call it as we see it. There's no I don't think there's any biased editing going on, so that's why I'm enjoying my moment from yesterday's video so much.
Yeah, I see Dan. I see a lot of hoes in that video from yesterday. So we're not done. We're not done with him yet.
To be continued.
Yeah.
So what's the latest? What's the latest with the Mud Demon? Are they on the market? Are they currently available? What's the updates?
They are available. We're about 2 weeks out on building. So for lead times.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I order one tomorrow, I can have it within a couple weeks.
Yep.
Kind of thing.
Yep. Yep.
And the one model you have right now is the exact same as what Jeff's running in his videos. And is there a second model or a second variation in the works? Or
so the current model is the L305, which you see in Jeff's videos. The only difference is the hopper's been updated, the face is updated. Jeff has one of the original machines that we prototyped. So some of the newer machines have a different style indicators off the side.
oh, okay.
So that's about it though. So
And I understand there might be a couple coming up to Canada. Rumor has it.
Yep. I believe Friday we finally got all the paperwork finally signed for the gentleman in BC.
Okay.
That's like 4 hours from you.
Perfect. So, we don't need any more pumps directly in our market.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a little east and north. I forget the name of the city,
Okay.
but it's along some lake that's basically the only road going to it.
So who are you finding is the primary interest from right now, Matt? Is it guys that like landscape guys that already have a machine, or what's who's it appealing to so far out of the gate?
Mostly it's remote guys.
Okay.
It's 2 hours, 3 hours to them getting a pump currently, and they're not looking for a ton of volume. They're just not. For them they can't schedule on their own time to get a regular pumper there. They can't wait the 2 weeks or the week, to give them that time because of weather and everything else. It just doesn't work out for them.
And these guys, most of them already own the skid steer.
Yeah.
Typically?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They've
all got their own skids already.
There's a video that you did with concrete with the hosses. Is that right?
Yep.
And that guy there is probably the prime. I would think would be the prime target. He's got skidsters. He's got guys, and he's got several jobs going, but he has to line a pump up to do certain jobs instead of being able to jump around when weather affects one job. He can usually go to another job, but his problem is he hadn't lined a pump up for that job. So where he can, because he's got the skidster and the guys, he wouldn't have to worry about the scheduling of the pump. He could take the pump and go pump the job that he could do while the weather's inclement for him. And so that's that type of guy. The guys you see me pump for sometimes in the rural area, was the same crew that I just pumped for. You saw the job this morning. Those guys would be really interested in one. We could probably sell one to them, but they got me. I'm the one that will come to this area. But if it wasn't for me, they would be a prime example of owning that pump. So it's one of those deals that rural area is a good market for it, because of accessibility to line pumps. Guys that like the Hosses and some of the pull deck guys that I pump for, they would be good for that. Guys that like to have control of their own schedule and their jobs.
That's the biggest thing.
Those are the guys that would be prime candidates for it.
Right.
It is a little more expensive if you have to go buy the whole setup. But
yeah,
if you're geared to do different things, then that will allow you to do that. To do, go build a house pad or go do dirt work or your own tear outs and then pump the job, things like that. I think Ryan with Victory Outdoors, he would be a prime candidate for one. And I'm hoping we can get to him sometime this summer and show him, the difference. The thing is, those guys spend a couple hours or an hour of labor and manpower laying down, plywood and mats to drive buggies over versus you lay out a couple 100 feet of hose. That's for me, that's a one-man job. Some guys it's two men, but for me, it's one-man job. And, he would definitely benefit from that setup. So.
Yeah. A good example is when I was down in Texas with those pumps and I got stuck in all those tornadoes when we delivered the machine, guy in Missouri. He's a pump jet guy. So he raises basements or houses and stuff, right? So he uses it to pump footings underneath crawl spaces and existing basements, right? That's what he uses it for. And now his regular pumper that he was using is giving him all these side jobs now that he doesn't want to do because he doesn't want to go do these 8, 10, 20 yard or less pours because he's going there with a boom truck trying to do it. He doesn't have a line pump, right? And the same thing with the Hosses. They've got a company that's actually like 2 miles from their place, Graph Concrete Pumping. We met them at Decocrete and he agrees. He said, I can't make time for him all the time when he calls because when it rains, he's got customers that'll call him and say, hey, this basement's ready for you to pour if you want on a rain day. So when it rains, right, so then his crew goes there. He's got 2 hours heads up, which isn't enough for him with his pump. So then they're stuck buggying it down around a hill, backyard, come through the basement patio, on new builds. And they tear up the lawn and even with laying all the traction mats down.
I think the next step forward would be there's starting to be a little bit of a buzz around the power packs. What would it take to make it either, the first step is, electric, to get electric pump on it and the type of power it would take if it was a 3-phase or if you can stay in the 220 range to where you're only, using a 50 amp breaker for to keep the 220. What are y'all looking at as far as that goes?
So if you're going to do electric over hydraulic power pack to get the volume for max output for 30 yards an hour is 30 gallons a minute. That's a pretty substantial power pack. So you're looking at roughly a 50 horse electric, and for the gallons per minute to try to keep oil cool, you're looking at 80 to 100 gallons of oil with the cooler. So I mean that's going to take some serious power, but if you're doing like for Scott, if you're doing high rise where you have 3-phase power, now I know north of the border it's a different voltage than here, but if you're doing a high voltage, it's not such a big deal. But you're looking, if you were to build a power pack, you're probably just spitballing it. You're probably looking $15,000 for a power pack.
And would that be like our 3-phase here? And I should know this offhand. I believe it's 480 volt, 460 volt.
That's the same as here then.
Would there be any hope, even at a reduced output of putting a power pack together that could run on 220 volt, or is that just out of the question?
No, you could. You just won't have you more than likely won't have the max output.
Well, like that one video y'all had, y'all were actually bucketing the mud up to the pump.
Yes.
So There's Darren. Hey, Darren.
Darren.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
So you're looking at, you're still looking at, a minimum. Well, how many was that? A half a yard bucket? I mean, would you pump a little bit once you got the bucket up?
I think that bucket was actually, I think it was 1.5 cubic meters, so almost 2 yards. Yeah, they had a big crane on that site. It was a pretty skookum crane.
Yeah. So even at that, you wouldn't need a whole heck of a lot of output because you're just not going to get the volume of concrete put in the hopper. Right?
Yeah, you're not gonna. Our hopper is basically the same size as a swing through a 5 hopper. The shape is a little different, but still the same cubic footage wise. It's like a little more than 1/3 of a yard, so not quite half a yard there. So you're not gonna, by the time you crane down to do it, you're gonna be sitting waiting for that bucket to come back up. Unless if you'd make some massive hopper extensions or something like that, but
Well,
the comments has a good question. Why would you do
theirs? It's not going to hold. I mean, it's not holding 1.5 yards. I mean, you're having to give it 1/3 and then let it pump down. Give it 1/3, let it pump down. So, what are you into, Aaron? You get your barbecue going?
So we got the barbecue done. And you can see behind me, we got all kinds of tornadoes hitting the ground. So there's one right behind us. It's close. And then let's see if I can get the camera right here. There's another one somewhere back in that direction somewhere.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's a lot of people camping Eminence, Missouri and Van Buren. That's a big floating area in Missouri. So a lot of campers probably got hammered, I'd say here tonight. I don't know. There's a lot of tornadoes going down. We're just waiting for our area. It's coming. So
that's what we had last night. We were frying fish and calf fries, and we had rotation over the top of us. So, but luckily it didn't touch down. And then unfortunately, we did have a tornado about 50 miles to the east of us that went through a trailer park and a state park and got some campers and stuff. So it wasn't a good thing that last night for a lot of people.
Hopefully next week will be a little better. We got a pretty busy week lined up next week, and last week was a little bit slow. Our weather around here was kind of hit and miss. So things are picking up though. So we're starting to get busier this year. So
yeah. What have you been into, Caleb?
Oh, last week's been kind of slow. I didn't really have anything, but I got a pretty exciting job coming up next week. They're building a new skate park here in Sioux Falls. It's something that I'm not huge into skating, but I hear things. And they've always had a metal skate park, and they would just keep repainting the ramps and stuff. And all the skaters, it's dangerous, wheels slip and people get hurt and all that stuff. And I would say it's been going on for over 10 years. They have been trying to petition to get an all concrete skate park. And the guys working on it are out of Florida. And I know there's a lot of shotcrete that goes on around Sioux Falls, like at the zoo and stuff. But those big companies, they all have their own pumps. So there's no need to call me. But they had another job come up and they needed their pump to go somewhere else. So they called me up and I get to go do a handful of jobs for them next week and hopefully a few in the future as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. My first shotcrete job, and it wasn't my pump, but I was on the job and more to learn, was a skate park in Ardmore, Oklahoma. So, and that was about 4 or 5 hours, and I finally got tired and left. But it was interesting, making the ramps and stuff and watching those guys. I mean, it was really interesting to see the process.
Anybody else see Bill's comment? And I pumped a slab last week. It looked like a skate park when they got done.
So Caleb, I gotta tell you, Caleb, the very first one I've ever done. We were downtown Cape. It was about 110 degrees out. I think I did a video on it. The compressor broke. They had to run across town, go get a compressor. We had that 8-bag mix in the hopper And let me tell you something. Whenever we got done, we didn't get it all chiseled out when we were cleaning up. So it went back to the shop and chiseled it all out. But it was, I've never done that. That was the first time I ever did shotcrete. That was definitely an eye opener.
Yeah, that shotcrete's no joke, especially if you got to sit there for, that at one job that I posted, there was 16 trucks. It took 124 yards of shotcrete. Luckily, I was able to wash out after about 7 trucks. I was like, I'm not even going to take the chance. I went and washed out. But yeah, that stuff's no joke. It can build up real quick, and then you're there for another hour afterwards, just trying to make that thing halfway to what it was before you showed up.
So do you do the technique with putting the bentonite on the hopper?
Oh, absolutely.
So that does help.
Absolutely. There is, even if it does build up, it cuts the chisel time in half, if not more than half.
Huh.
It's just the simple, and that stuff just falls right off. And if you're shotcreting, you have to coat the hopper in bentonite. It just makes your life so much easier.
Now, since we got that nice air compressor, I had to get a chisel gun for the truck.
Get you an impact wrench. They both come in real handy.
Well, I hope I don't have to use that air compressor that much, but time will tell.
There's a nice 18-inch air chisel bit you can get from most hardware stores or tool stores, and it'll save you from having to climb into that hopper when you're chipping out. It's one of the handiest pieces that we ever purchased for chipping out our line pumps. Nice long chisel bit. But keep your limbs away from those agitator shafts and all the little nasties in there.
You'll use that air compressor more than you think. You'll be glad you got it. I've been using that 20-volt D-wall that I just purchased. I tell you what, that's pretty handy piece of equipment.
Have you used it to blow out, Jeff, or just to help assist the ball back, or have you done both?
I have not used it for either one of those. I just use it around my house. But hey, in the chat, the Doozy Ranch, that's Bill. That's my brother-in-law. So that runs my boom pumps. So it's kind of hard to see who's who when you have that kind of name, but that's who that is in the Doozy Ranch. So
I liked in your video today, Jeff, that you and Bill did the tutorial on sucking the ball back through the 4.5-inch whip hose. I thought there was going to be a slew of angry villagers telling you that you can't do that and your pipes are going to be dirty, yada yada yada. I do it the same thing sometimes too, and if you use lots of water, it works just fine. But I was expecting there to be uproar, but I'm thinking maybe your viewers are a little bit more understanding than some of mine, perhaps.
Yeah, I did get chastised a little bit about I guess more drone footage than maybe other type of footage, but that was my first time to bring the drone out to the boom pump. So I guess I was just more fixated on getting aerial shots and things like that versus
footage of the stuck mixer was great. I loved it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. That's a real pretty area that we were in, but when we did that part, I think I was explaining to Darren about that reducing hose and being able to, not having to disconnect the hose, prior to, pulling the sponge back. And that was kind of my point of doing that video, is maybe Darren would watch it and see how Bill does it. Cause when we first got the reducing hose, we did build up in those first 2 elbows. And then he figured out the trick of just once the ball starts going, turn it off and let it slow down. And then once it stops, then kick it back on and it'll expand like it's supposed to and take everything back with it. So just a little trick of the trade.
I did the same thing, Jeff. I used to pull a 5-inch ball through a 4-inch taper, and I would the taper is short enough. I would take a stick and I'd stuff it down the taper till it was in the elbow, and then let it sit for about 30 seconds so that ball could expand back out. Because just like you're saying, if you don't give it that time to expand back out, it'll skiff over the first bit of mud and the first couple elbows and pipes until it does. So yeah, I like the way you guys explained it. Makes sense and was very very informative.
Y'all had I think you and another guy had it was a really good comment, and it really kind of brought some light onto me about it. Pumping back into those trucks. I've always just stuck the hose down in there and let it go. Of course, you know, as well as I do, if you get against one of those fins, or you so happen to have a rock pack or something at the hose, you know, you're going to cause a pretty damn big mess. But I never thought about taking the hose off prior to pumping back into the truck. And once I got to think about it, you know, that made a lot of you know, sense doing it that way.
It is the safest way. It's a pain in the butt. We had an incident
Absolutely.
where one of the guys, not me, maybe me, I don't know. No, somebody put a hose back in a mixer, and the mixer still had like 7 cubic meters of concrete in it. So the hose was actually buried in the concrete inside the drum and pumped out like normal. Once that air came through, that hose went whipping out of the drum, right in downtown Vancouver, and it was not pretty. So ever since then, the policy changed to taking the hose off, and you know, that's the best and safest way to do it. But it is a bit of an inconvenience. But you know,
but that made me think about that, and I appreciate those type of comments. That's something you can learn from, and it brought light to me on it. So I really appreciate you making the comment, and another guy or two made the comment about it also, because and Bill's watching, but I think that was good. That's good learning points.
Our issue's always been with small hose, like a 3-inch hose, maybe a 3.5. On a 4.5 or a 5-inch hose, I think it would be highly unlikely. But you know, if you want to be 1,000% certain, just knock it down to the elbow, or if you have a 5 to 4 taper, knock it to the taper, or whatever it may be. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Darren, you got a light show behind you.
Yeah, and I just about to tell you the wife came out looking for me. I guess the storms are getting pretty close, so I may have to, if you pull up your radar there, we're at Oak Ridge, Missouri. So we're just about to get drilled, I guess. So I don't know. We'll see what happens here. So
we'll keep you in our prayers.
Yeah, I better get off. It's getting pretty. See if I can get it back there. It's getting really dark back over there. So
yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
I'll catch you guys next time. I just had to stop in here for a little bit. I haven't talked to everybody for a while. So
it's good to see you, Darren.
Yeah, good to see you all.
Good to see you, Darren.
All right, be
Take
safe,
care.
guys.
You too. Take care.
All right, you too.
A lot of the questions that we get that I've seen in like Jeff's videos and with Tom Haas with Concrete with the Haas's is volume. You know, how much can they push with our machine, that type of thing, right? And we explained that it's for every gallon per minute your machine puts out is a cubic yard per hour with a max of 30 yards an hour, right? So that works great for guys that have high flow machines, or if they have a high flow machine and run it in high flow. But if they're
or know how to get into high flow.
Yeah. But if they have a standard flow machine and they're running it right at 20 gallons a minute, they always say, well, there's no increase. There's no difference after 50% on the remote, because our remote shows 10, 30, 50, 80, 100%, right? There won't be any difference after that. Once your machine is maxed out for that gallons per minute. So if you have a 15 or 18 gallon per minute machine, once you hit 50%, that's the max it's ever going to be, because that percentage rate on the remote is based off of 30 yards an hour or 30 gallons per minute, right? So that's hard for some people to understand what that is.
So the term high flow versus low flow, is that like an industry standard at 20 gallons and 30 gallons, or it isn't? Okay, so there could be there's in between.
Yes,
okay.
And the newer the machines, it's funny because like Bobcat is actually lagging behind everybody else as far as what a Bobcat high flow machine is like 32 gallons a minute, right? They make what's called a super flow machine that's only a T86 or something like that. It's their biggest machine. It's a 120 horse machine, and it can get, I think, 42 gallons a minute, right? But like Jeff's John Deere that he has, that generation of Deeres, a standard flow machine is 26 or 25 gallons a minute on standard flow, or it's 42 on high flow.
So anything above 30, does that gain you additional performance with the Mud Demon, or is 30 kind of the max?
No, after 30 gallons a minute is your max for the concrete flow, and if you're running the agitator while doing it, that pulls anywhere between 2 to 3 gallons a minute.
So I think we talked in the comments. Is there a way to slow that agitator down to put more flow back?
So Jeff's pump is one of the first machines, so he has a faster RPM on his hydraulic motor. And we talked about sending him a new motor because he said something about it, but he's like, I'll just use it until it's right. So,
well, and when I did that ICF pour, the video was last Sunday. That turning on the agitator was the difference of me going back to the machine and turning off the high flow and going back to just standard flow.
Yep.
I was able to rob those 2 or 3 gallons a minute or 2 or 3 yards an hour and slow down, because in high flow, those guys, because they were only wanting to fill a third of the wall. We made 3 rounds around those walls. So they only wanted to fill a third of it. So that, I had them panting and sweating that first 10 yards. And I was running the machine at 10% on the remote and probably a third of the throttle. I need to get some numbers on my throttle, like 1 through 11, but but I only had a third of the throttle on the machine. So on the second truck, and when I went back down there, I went ahead and kicked the agitator on, and that seemed to smooth things out. But I was still able to keep it in high flow for them. So, but still running 10% on the remote. But I'm hoping to get something more wide open this week that I can get it on. It's not a slab that's going to take 10 or 20 yards and not a lot of moving. I think it'll show if I can get on something like that, it'll really show the performance of this pump. And the performance is there. There's no doubt about it. So, and then I'm using the 2.5-inch hose versus the 3-inch hose. That was the difference of, stopping, picking up hose, dragging it to the side, getting you some loops and gaining some space, and then kicking it back on, versus the 2.5. I mean, hell, you just throw it to the side and then have a guy drag a bunch over. You're not having to really, wait on having 2 guys to move it at one time. So,
yeah, 3-inch hose is terrible, Jeff. I got a little job tomorrow mid-morning, and I think I know what mix they got coming, and I'm already dreading loading 3-inch hose onto the pump. Ugh, I'm so spoiled up here. I'll take a video for you. I'll make a YouTube short out of it. On today's job.
Yeah.
I was happy just to go to fabric hose on 3-inch hose.
Yeah,
the first 3-inch hose I had is braided.
Oh god, that
was miserable.
Cruel and unusual.
Yeah.
It's just something I'm used to. Some guys are used to 4-inch hose. I'm just used to my 3-inch, and it just seems it works well with a different variety of mixes that I see. I'm not having to worry about carrying 2 different sizes of hoses because of that. That is where I'm a little bit timid about outfitting my other truck with 2.5-inch hose. I just don't know what I can get away with yet. But we're working that away, definitely. But I just don't want to get somewhere and that's all I've got, and I need that extra, room to in the hose.
Funny, Craig just mentioned try our mixes in Toronto. Majority is 4-inch line. I've seen that. Oh, we can't, like I've said a million times, we can't even find kids to run a line pump out here with 2-inch hose off the hopper, let alone 4-inch. I don't know how they do it. More power to them, but yeah.
Craig, is that steel line or fabric hose?
And that's what I'm saying with
a lot of steel.
That's all steel.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying with the rock valve, though. If it won't fall into my material cylinders and come out, or if it will fall into my material cylinders and pump out, then I can get in 3-inch hose. Anything that won't do that, it won't go into 4-inch. So there's really not that much difference on what my pump. I got 6-inch material cylinders, so there's really not much difference. I don't have a reason to carry 4-inch hose, because if it won't go through the pump, it ain't going in that hose. If it will go to the pump, it will go through 3-inch hose. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
I think with small rock, Jeff, yes, I agree, or smaller rock. I think Craig and those guys are using like 1-inch stone though. So I think with a 1-inch rock, it might be a little bit different. I think your mix is like what's your biggest rock that you normally see?
A 1-inch, 57. Is that 1-inch?
It's 1-inch. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like our worst mixes out here aren't necessarily the size of the rock; it's the amount of stone and the amount of sand blended. And whether like the toughest mixes I've ever pumped out here are actually 5 mm stone, but the stuff was like fish tank gravel. You couldn't even get it through the S tube. It was horrendous.
Yeah, it just pressures out because
it just pressures out. Yeah.
Just like it did.
Yeah, there's no cream. There's no cream to it, right?
And that the 3 Sundays ago, the job I did with the Mud Demon with the 2.5-inch hose, that had 57 rock in that mix. But I had them, so we were using a 50-50 mix, 50% sand, 50% rock, and it was 3,500 PSI mix. But they also cut the rock in half. So I had 50% 57 stone, I had 50% pea gravel. And I was pushing that through 2.5-inch line. So it is possible to do it with 2.5-inch, but that concrete company there I trust. It's the other ones I don't trust.
Yeah, usually when I'm working with somebody who I don't know or it's a new company to me, I'll just put one hose off the hopper and recirculate it and make sure I can actually pump through one length of the size of hose that I have out first. And,
right.
And obviously, if it won't, then I just reevaluate. And because I do find with the bentonite primer, sometimes you can actually get an otherwise unpumpable mix through 150 feet of hose because the bentonite fattens it up enough. And once the primer's out, then you find out the mix won't pump, and now you got 150 feet of line to drain out by hand or try and blow out if you can.
Yeah, exactly. So, but no, I enjoyed the video with the concrete with the pumping with the hosses. I thought that was a good video. I think the guys were a little bit overwhelmed doing the footing with the 3-inch hose versus a smaller hose. But
that was such an awkward pour because it was actually a landscape edging, so it was only about 10 or 12 inches wide and about 10 inches tall. And
that was wider than I was expecting.
What's that?
It was a lot wider than I was expecting it to be, that footing.
Yeah, but it was deep, and they had the bottom of the form was open by like 3-4 inches as well. So they didn't want nothing to slough out. So it was like a 3.5-4 mix going out, and the batch plant operator was there. They did air entrapment tests on it and a couple other things there, but it was so awkward because the only hose I had was 3-inch hose. So we had 150 feet of 3-inch hose out, and we're filling this trough that's basically a foot wide and a foot tall for 4.5 yards. So you're constantly dragging 3-inch hose. You can't stop, right? And when you do, it's just like bean cans coming out. It's just like straight because they don't want it to fluff out. So it's such an awkward pour or pump to do a demo on because it had been raining. You know, they didn't have nothing else that was ready for the time I was there.
Is there any way to attach a link to that video in the comments or anything? I actually haven't seen that one. I gotta watch it now.
Yeah, neither have I.
I definitely want to check that one out. Concrete with the hosses. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one. Another one, Caleb, you had an interesting one a couple of weeks ago or a week ago where you kept, having an issue right there. What, about 100 feet, 100 right off the pump?
So it was 60 feet off the pump. So I had a 10 foot, and then 2 25s. And it plugged twice that I actually had to stop and go take care of it. But I mean, the whole pour, it was jumping. You could hear it struggling just through that one spot.
Oh, the one hose end there, right, Caleb?
Yep, just that one spot. And then there was a couple times where I sat there for like 10 minutes with my hammer. And if I heard it, I would just give it a tap and then it would just go through. And I was like, well, shit, if it's going to plug here at 60 feet, what's going to stop it from plugging at, the next 20 with the next hose connection or the next hose connection?
The mix is that borderline. It'll find that one spot with the slightest little on a coupling.
It's a couple of millimeters.
Yeah, you think something's wrong with the hose and you break it all down when you're done and the hose looks fine. I just think when the mix is that close, I've been known to take a die grinder and grind out the ends of my hoses, especially the new ones with the hardened ends, because they don't ever really wear in. So I'll pre-bevel them a little bit. But yeah, I think just a rough mix, it's always going to find that one spot. Seems to be the case.
And I think it was because the hose, the place I have been getting hoses from, they switched to a different, same manufacturer, but they just changed it. And those white striped hoses, I just hate them because they're supposedly the same as the old blue stripe hose, but that's not. They're so much more stiff and rigid. It almost feels like they got wire braid in them over nylon braid, but they do have nylon braid in them. And I just hate using them, so I never use them unless I have to. And when I have 275 feet out, well, it gives me no choice, and I have to use them.
Sure, you just gotta try to remember to put them at the end.
I always forget, I would just do the opposite. I think I'd put the live ones at the pump, because I think if you were to pull a sponge back, those are probably less likely to collapse at the reduce.
Yep.
When you're going back to the
That
pump.
is true. Yeah, that's a good point too,
So,
Jeff.
Yep, that's why I always
hoses as much right there.
That's why I always try to put my 10-footer is a wire braid hose. So I always try to put my 10-foot right off the reducer. That way, when I am sucking back, that hose will be less likely to collapse. Because recently, my hose, I've been using my 2.5-inch hoses a lot, and they've been working. And I have been noticing that they are starting to collapse a lot easier now. So I've been trying to be diligent on putting that 10-footer on there just for the sake of sucking back.
Yeah, I've even thought about
flip the hose.
I've even thought about buying 50 feet of the wire just to put right off the pump, and because I've been having issues. My 3-inch is 2 years old, maybe 2.5 years old now, and it's if I have a dry mix, it's wanting to collapse at the reducer. So I've been thinking about buying a couple of sections of the wire and just using those as my 50-footers right off the pump, and then hopefully that'll give it enough time to keep from collapsing the 75-foot hose when I suck a sponge.
Jeff,
back.
have you tried the new either Conforms FlexBond 1250 or the Green Line Alliance yellow stripe hose? It's a lot more stiff.
Yeah.
Without being as cumbersome as a wire braid hose, you might like that stuff. It is a really stiff hose. It's a little bit tougher for the guys to work, but for right off the hopper, the pump, it is really nice stuff. I like it.
Yeah, Mike's coming up the week after next. I'm gonna visit with him. I'll see what we can do. See if I can't get a couple of those. So I'm happy to know that Conforms put a warehouse in Grand Prairie, which is basically our back door. So,
oh, really?
Yep. So he's coming up. We're gonna visit and maybe do a video or two at the Conforms Grand Prairie shop, and he might be bringing Bill a gift also for our boom pump.
Ooh, prezzies.
Bill's going on vacation that week, so when he comes back, he may have a brand new toy on his pump when he gets back.
You think you can teach an old dog new tricks? You might rub him the wrong way, going and putting fancy new stuff on his pump and messing with the program. You don't know.
I think Bill will like this. He's been wanting something. I'm not going to tell him about it, but I think he's going to like it.
If it's what I think you're talking about, it's really handy. Yeah. Our guys love them.
An idea of what it might be as well.
Here's Mike's asking Scott to use 3.5 with 4-inch couplers. Yes, Mike. All of our 3.5-inch hose uses 4-inch clamps. Yes, it does. An oiler. Bill wants an oiler.
Oh,
is that like an oil boy, or is that how does that work exactly?
I'm trying to get Matt to send me a couple of his boys down here. Let me work them for the summer, and try to get them started in the pumping.
Veggie Super says 12.5-foot hoses all the way. Oh, we've had this conversation before, Jeff. You know how you and I feel about the 12.5-foot hoses. More clamps.
More clamps.
It's horrible.
Oh, yeah. There's no way I'm never using anything but a 25-foot hose.
Yeah.
Never.
That's funny. Our local pumper Bob's here. They run nothing but 10-foot hoses of any size.
Oh.
No, never.
Now I have 25-footers, but I have asked and we borrowed some of his 10-footers doing stairways,
I could see
doing
stairways that being
air
nice.
decks. Boy, that was nice, tearing off a 10-foot hose every flight.
Really? You
That
didn't
was
find the clamps and it wants to
so
kink where
easy.
the rubber comes out of the coupling? That's all I can picture. I
Yeah,
think it'd be
it's
awful.
short, but when you're
On the
lugging
stairways, you're
3-inch
trying to
hose
find
upstairs,
hose.
that worked well.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I got to try it one day. I just think about dealing with whip hoses. I mean, I can see it with 4-inch hose, definitely 5-inch hose, but on 2.5 and even 3, I don't know.
Well,
Yeah,
2.5 would be easier to coil up and lean against the wall, where it's not, kinking or anything like that. 3-inch gets a little heavy. It'll tend to want to kink a little bit when you start making loops in it. I could see on doing stairs having, having that. I think it'd save on room for sure.
Yeah. No, they've got 500 feet of 3-inch hose. That's all they'll do. 10-footers, everything.
Wouldn't all the couplings add pressure because it would disrupt the flow at every coupling? I mean, if we want to get really techie about it, obviously it works for them. I don't know.
It's funny because
they're probably using boom pumps to push it too.
They are, because they don't have a trailer pump. So I don't need a trailer pump. I've got 8 of them here, and it's always the boom pump. So yeah.
You guys, I got a topic here. I've been needing to vent to a group about this.
A like-minded people?
No, recently just going through numbers and whatnot and looking at the prices of new pumps. So, and there's some pretty knowledgeable guys in the comments section here that I'd love to hear from chime in. At least in our market, and I think it's pretty similar in other markets. When was it decided and who was it decided and came up with the formula that a 32-meter boom pump should be $15 to $20 an hour more than a line pump? When a line pump, full setup, truck, trailer, everything is maybe a couple $100K, and a 32-meter boom pump is $500,000. Who came up with this number and how? Because I'm sitting here banging my head against the wall thinking we can never make money with a small boom pump, not in our market. Line pumps do okay, big pumps do okay. Where did this 32-meter boom pump rate come from? I swear a number was just thrown against the wall and surprise, that's it. I don't understand it. Please chime in. Somebody educate me. What am I missing?
Well,
I think it should be at least $40-$50 an hour difference, I think.
Well, the thing is here, there's got to be so many people with pumps now. It's just one money. It's going up a little bit, thankfully, but still, whether you can reach it with a 33 meter or you can reach it with a 41 meter, you're going to get $900 for a slab with the cookie cutter slabs. Those people don't know what you're bringing them. The only thing they know is if you can't reach the back of it or not. So it doesn't matter here. They've taken that price sheet and those minimums and thrown it out the damn door when it comes to pumping for all these big neighborhoods. Now, if you stick with the custom home builders, then you can get close to naming your price and price sheeting your different sizes of pumps. But if you're doing these neighborhoods where these guys are, supposed to be guaranteeing you 2 or 3 slabs a job, a day, which it doesn't always happen like that. You know well as I do that inspectors, stuff fails and things like that. You're doing one job and they're going to pay you $900 to go pump 100 yards of concrete. But when you show up with a 33 meter, or you show up with a 41, you're going to get $900. That's just what they're doing with those deals.
James' comment is that it took over for the 28 meters. So what we discovered up here, probably 20 years ago now, when the first 20 and 26 meter pumps were introduced in our market, is a lot of customers, and they were going for about $15-$20 an hour cheaper than the booms at that time. Customers got in this habit of always ordering, give me a 26 meter, give me a 20 meter. Well, when that pump actually showed up and it was a foundation that required a 32 or 36 meter, it was a big snafu. They were trying to pull a fast one because they knew that most likely they were going to get a bigger boom. So in our market, everybody, like a 20 meter to a 32, it's the same price. The price doesn't change till we get to a 36 meter or bigger. And thank God it doesn't, because by the rationale, a 20 meter would probably be $30 an hour cheaper than a line pump, the way that we've decided to price things. So we haven't had a cheaper than 32 meter rate for about 15, 20 years. But it's just, Mark's got a good comment. Hertz is the owner, 42 is a 32. 32 or rates out whack out west. Yes, Mark, the 32 meter rate out west is completely whack. Yes, it is.
To me,
You
there ought to
see-
be a split. If someone is requesting that 28, 24, that's a specialty pump. That price should be going up this way. If you're at 32 and you're here, then you're going up to a bigger pump. That price should be going up from right there. To me, 32 should be the bottom line minimum price. And if you need something smaller, other than a line pump, that price should go up because that's a specialty pump. And then the same way going the other direction. If you need a 40 meter, 42, whatever, that price should be going up. But 32 ought to be the bare minimum on the pumps.
So what happened here, Jeff, is everybody now is running 32 meter 5-section pumps, which purchase price are the same as a 38 or 40 meter, but they're not charging more for them. And if they are, it's like $5 an hour. So it's just like there's just so much nonsensical stuff. And like in our market in the city, the old adage of, well, my boom pump, I'm going to run around and do 4 or 5 quick jobs a day. It's impossible. We don't get the service. Everybody wants to pour at 11 o'clock and order one load, run short of concrete, and then order a balance, and you're there for exactly the minimum. It just doesn't.
You're an hour and 45 minutes from that balanced load.
Yeah, it's become from an ownership standpoint, it's become a lost pump size. Like we pay the guy that runs that pump damn close to the same as what we pay a guy who runs a 55 meter, right? It's very close. So I don't know. I don't know where the industry came up with this, but like I said, with 32 meter pumps now costing at least $500,000 US dollars, I think we got to pull our heads out of our whats and start looking at the numbers. But
and that's the thing. I'd love to have a stable of new pumps, but I'll look at what the minimum I'm going to get for taking that pump out. The numbers don't match. You pump 120 yards of concrete here. I'm going to physically put $15,000 of concrete through my pump, and they want me to charge $950 to run fit and be responsible for that $15,000 of concrete. Say we get halfway through, you lose a fording valve, or you lose something stupid. It's cost $100 to fix. Well, they want you to pay for that slab now because they can't get a pump to it. They can't get the trucks to it. That's never made sense to me of why I'm running $15,000 of concrete through my pump, and I've paid $500,000 for a pump, and they want to pay me less than $1,000 to have the responsibility of all that going on. It's never made sense to me. And anybody if you told anybody those numbers away from the pumping industry, they would look at you like you're crazy and like, what the hell are you doing? That does not add up. But for some reason, pumping concrete is a drug to us, and it's our fix to go.
It is.
I'm serious. It is. I mean, who would say no?
Yeah.
We won't. We won't say no.
What do they say? Take your 2 favorite things in life, make your first favorite your hobby, and your second favorite your passion. that's where we falter. We like pumping concrete so much we will literally do it for free.
Damn near, and spend a lot of money.
How many of the markets do you guys see, like between like where we're at, where you're at, Caleb? We see a lot of guys, like Chris had mentioned, private companies that are buying these older boom pumps, right? But they're not doing no maintenance to them. They're not getting inspected. They're just pumping their own jobs, and that's it. They do a DOT inspection, and that's it. There's nothing else, right? So their input cost is very minimal, right? So they're going around. A good example is some of our local guys are Hooterite colonies that are having their own batch plants, and they have their own pump trucks now, but they're not being kosher, so to speak, right? Do you guys see that around where you're at?
No, I would say around here, I think they charge way too cheap for a boom pump. I mean, I've went and pumped a job, and I was like 200 more. It was a 2-part job, so I went and did the first part of it, and then they didn't hire me to do the second part because the batch plant here in town, the ready mix company had their own pump, and for some reason they will give their boom pump for free to you, pretty much to use, if you're buying their concrete.
Yep.
And I can't compete with that. And a lot of the guys around here I've talked to, you know, I've made a few buddies who are operators, and I've talked to them about their pricing and stuff, and they tell me their pricing, and I'm like, I'm not too far off of their price. I mean, I think because my minimum's 4 hours, and I don't think their minimums are 4 hours, so my price might be the same as theirs. But if your job takes my whole minimum 4 hours, I'm cheaper that way. But if your job takes 2 hours, and say, you know, it's the same price as their, you know, virtually as a pump, if it would take 2 hours because they're charging like a 2 hour minimum to my 4 hour minimum, you get 2 extra hours out of me if the job goes longer than it's supposed to. But a lot of the booms around here are private guys who do a lot of their own concrete, and they'll pump their own stuff. There is a few companies around here that they have nice equipment, you know, brand new pumps, and I don't talk to them about their inspections and stuff, but you know, how they talk about it, they care, and they love their job. So I feel like, and they talk about safety too. So I know they're taking the right precautions, you know, getting their inspections and all that stuff. So no, there isn't no Bodunk concrete pump companies around here that are just trying to make a quick buck. And yeah.
You get out in the lakes area in Minnesota, northern Minnesota, where there's not a lot of population. There's quite a few old trucks that are out there still pumping that probably shouldn't be going down the road.
Oh, I see that daily here. And I wonder, you know, about that. And Caleb, you'll watch those companies that have their pumps. I know of one ready mix company in our area that's kept a pump for probably 10 years or more. The one, matter of fact, we had one that ended up being a competitor for a little while, but they ended up, you know, selling their pumps because the math does not work when you're giving away pumps to sell concrete. I mean, eventually they'll look up and go, damn, I'm paying one guy for this pump, and I'm making payments on this pump, but I'm giving away the pump to sell the concrete. Eventually they look at that and go, that's not a good business plan. And either they have to start selling, you know, either start charging them for that boom pump, which that puts them back competing with the rest of us, or they sell the pumps. And fortunately for us, that company sold their pumps, you know, but they did do some damage to us in the meantime with the gimmick of, you know, giving a pump away if you buy our concrete.
I will say though, like, they do, the 3 or 4 ready mix companies around here that I pump with regularly, they hate line work. Nobody wants to do line work, so they're always giving my name out. I have gotten multiple jobs off of both ready mix companies, and when it comes to, I'm actually really good friends with one of the plant managers for one of the ready mix companies here in town, and they give my name out a lot, and I get a lot. One ready mix company charges what they're supposed to. So when it comes to doing, you know, they pay their guys to do the work they're supposed to do. They're not just giving away the pump. And I just get a lot of work from them, and a lot of work from them actually. And most of the time I get to work from them, it's like 300 or 400 yards, and I'll be there for weeks.
That's the part I don't get, especially like areas like ours. And I've seen you run mostly 2.5 and 2-inch hose as well, Caleb, and even Jeff running the 3-inch line. I personally find line pumping easier than boom pumping most of the time. Markets where they're running 4 and 5-inch hose, I get it for sure. I use a boom at all costs, or whenever possible. But I hear these stories of guys that don't want to use line pumps because it's too hard, too much this, too much that. I think it's easier. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Jeff, you've run both. What are your thoughts?
The best way I can explain it is when I trailer pump, I'm physically tired at the end of the day, especially when we're coming into the summer months. When I boom pump, I'm mentally tired at the end of the day. You know, it's one, you know, you trade one for the other, but still, I mean, you use when you're boom pumping, you use your mind a lot more versus trailer pumping. You're a knuckle dragger.
I find with us, because a lot of our setups, they've got, you know, a half a pickup truckload of dunnage to lay down, and we're digging dirt piles out, and the boom pumping actually is relatively physically difficult as well. We don't get a lot of like real straightforward setups, and when we do, those are fantastic days. So maybe that plays into my opinion or thoughts on it a little bit too. But I line pumping to me is like a holiday. It's a vacation for the most part. I really enjoy it.
Probably what wears the most on me when I'm boom pumping is waiting on concrete. You know, that probably wears the most on me. It seems like when I'm waiting on concrete with the trailer pump, it doesn't bother me as much. But I hate seeing a whole slab there and knowing I've got 60 yards, 70 yards left to go, and I'm waiting on trucks. That wears on you. I mean, yeah, pushing knobs don't wear you out. I mean, you know, you're hydraulics. There's not a lot of physical to it. But, you know, of course, the bigger pumps, when y'all get to, you know, you're doing the bigger pumps, then, yeah, you got dunnage to load and unload and things like that. But I probably because I've done it for so long, the trailer pumping is definitely easier for me, mentally, physically. I don't know if it's natural or not, but I've done it for over 16 years now. So it's just what I know. You put me back on the boom for, you know, I hadn't run a boom in probably, I don't know, 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years. It's probably the last time I run one of those trucks. And, you know, I'd be a little nerve wracking if I went and ran one tomorrow by myself, because I haven't done it, you know. But I like the trailer pump. I like the trailer pump stuff right now. It's more straightforward for me than anything.
I like it because it's pretty involved too. I find it a little bit more involved than boom pumping. Boom pumping, especially the commercial stuff, you just kind of get told what to do and sit back and push your buttons. And, you know, residential is a little bit more involved. But I find the line pumping, you kind of can get in there a little bit and keep active as the days go by a little bit quicker. As I say all this, I'm sitting on the couch with a busted up back here, but my mind still feels good about it. So
yeah. How about you, Matt? You've gotten your fill of line pumping some now. Really, you haven't line pumped all that much.
No, I haven't. But I mean, I'm new to pumping, obviously, right? And I've been around mostly boom pumps when I have been around pumps. So line pumping was definitely new to me. But what I don't understand is how people think it's harder work than bugging. I'm still want to put up an obstacle course and do a competition for guys that still think they can buggy 10 or 12 yards of concrete in a backyard down this hole and into the basement faster than what you can pump it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just don't understand. You know, with me being out in PA with Haas's there, now he looks at what most people don't see is, okay, now he's got time in tearing up the grass because he is on a side hill with his buggy and tracks. So now they've got extra landscaping costs. If you're hiring somebody to come back and fix the damage after you're back, that's still cost to the owner, the property owner, maybe not to the contractor, but it is the property owner.
Yep.
Right. So if you would actually put dollars a cents that way, I mean, pumping just makes, you know, a no-brainer. But as far as line pumping, I like the line pump side of it. I think the boom works. I mean, it obviously works for everybody, but I think it'd get boring at some point, because if you're doing 200-300 yards and, you know, like the boat ramp on your video this morning, I mean, Matt makes it nice and comical, so it's easy to stay there, but you know, and you don't always, not all the time you get truck stuck and that type of thing. But, you know, if you're doing, well, like some of the crews around here, the large commercial guys, you know, they're doing large flat slabs that are 300, 400, or 500-yard slabs, and you know they've stretched out. You know, they're there at 4 in the morning and done by noon, and you know, I don't know. I think the line pumping is, maybe it's because you're more personable with the guys that are there. You're talking with the crew more than just staring at the slab. So maybe it's that connection that I would enjoy better, and I do seem to. You know, you get a little more connected with the contractor that way. You know, instead of just here to pump mud and dump and go. I mean, even though that's what you're doing, but you know, having a personal conversation with the guy because you're standing next to him is, I think, is part of the benefit from it.
No, that's a huge one, Matt. You nailed it there. I completely agree. I tell my wife I don't really do anything on the weekends with friends because I have all the interaction I need during the week on the job site.
Yeah.
Maybe it's sad, but it's true. It's like hanging out with the boys for the most part. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I enjoy most of the guys I pump for. I like, you know, seeing them and visiting with them and getting caught up and stuff. And it starts getting to be more personable, you know, because you're there visiting, you know, talking with them.
Chatter in the comments that I might have shares in Dyka. Well, Mark and Craig, Dyka has given me a hat and a coffee tumbler, and my wife promptly claimed the coffee tumbler, so I was left with a hat. I'm still twisting her arm to try and get one of those new adjustable leveling outrigger pads. Yes, I haven't seen it yet. So no, I do not own shares. I don't think they're publicly traded, but if someday they ever are, yes, I'm in. So Matt, what is your background? Or engineering, or where do you come from? Tell us about yourself.
I am a poor farm kid. Grew up on a farm with nothing. Long story, but I mean, I was growing up. I grew up. I was probably 6th grade before our house had running water and electricity in it, and I'm not that old. I just turned 42. So,
and what area did you grow up in? Where are you from?
Minnesota.
Okay,
in the lakes, but it's just what the family was. My great grandma that we lived with at the time was old stubborn German that did everything the old way. Yeah. And there was no changing it until she passed away. Then everything changed. But out of high school, I worked at a welding shop, working second shift after high school, joined the service, was in the Army for 4 years, came back and basically worked in manufacturing ever since. I did tool and die machining for a while and worked my way up through the ranks through management, and I was a plant manager for a manufacturing company here in Fargo-Moorhead for 8 or 9 years. Looked over about 150 people in the manufacturing plant, and broke away from that in 2019 to do our own job shop. So the current building that I'm in is Minn Kota Manufacturing. We do job shop manufacturing, so we build mostly farm machinery, ag equipment. So we have lasers, CNC lathe that's multi-axis, horizontal milling machines, vertical milling machines, lasers, plasma, oxy-fuel, press brakes, welders. So we're regular job shop, manufacturing shop. And with having grown up with nothing, I want to make everything. Every task I get.
How'd the Mud Demon come about? What spurred that?
So 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago, we bought some property to build a cabin, ICF cabin. And we're doing ICF all the way to the gable end. So to the roof, including gable ends. And to get our local pumper that we know out there, was the cost and time was just tremendous. And to get them out there 4 times, just in pumping costs, I'd have close to 15 grand in pumping costs. And I was like, man, there's got to be a better way. So I created just this, basically a mud bucket with an auger, which I've showed Jeff a video of that to do my footings, and then I did another version of it for my stem wall to get out of the ground. Then I was like, I got to build a boom or something because I can't go more than like 14, 15 feet with that. So then started doing basically prototyping a boom for my skid steer. And I've got a few videos doing that in my parking lot just for proof of concept. And I was like, okay, well, that works. So then that was just no cylinders, no nothing. That was just to make sure that that function was there, that it could maintain and not tip over. Right. Let's turn it by hand and bolt it back down and hang off to the side at 180 degrees. And okay, yep, that works. With little to no investment into it. Then the next step was to buy hydraulic control valves and a Scannerico belly pack and controls to power it with a slew drive and everything. And it's like, okay, this is really possible, and that's where it grew from there. So.
And then to get the Mud Demon going, did you just start with like an old 305 swing and kind of chop it up a bit and make it? No, nothing.
No, we were looking at first to build our own pump kit and to piece together a pump kit off of what we could buy online to put together. And it's like Jared, one of the engineers that's now a partner in the sales side, we were like, nobody's gonna buy it from us because nobody knows that it works. We're just two newbies that don't know nothing, right? Because there's guys in the area that have like the old Bobcat version and some of the Easy Hog ones, and they just no volume. They can't do the grout or the size mix. They can't, nobody likes them, so we're going to invest all this time in trying to scab something together and nobody's going to like it. We're like, so we started looking at say Schwing and Putzmeister, and as we started looking, it's like, well, Schwing is only 4 hours away and Putzmeister is 5.5. So, it's worth the conversation or the road trip to go see. And before we did it, we started looking online to see what each one offered. And Putzmeister doesn't make a small enough pump.
Yeah.
It just they don't cater to the smaller guys anymore. It's all large yardage machines, large as in 50 yards or more. Well, there's no skid steer that has the capability of even supporting that. So you're paying for something that you would never consume. Right. So then I tried contacting Schwing through a couple sales guys and kind of got put around, and guys that left and didn't pass the message on, and finally got passed through and got a meeting set up with them and looked at a couple different options and threw the ball valve thing out the window right away. That wasn't going to work. We didn't want nothing to do with that. So then it was the 305 and the 301, and the 305 now is all complete in production running, and Jared is back to the working on the boom and the placer on its own, and then I'll be working on a 301 here shortly. So
what is a 301? What's the difference between the 301 and 305?
The 301 is basically the same as just 500, but it has, you can get it, there's a difference in a short rock and a long rock.
Oh, okay.
So
the 28-inch cylinders?
Shorter cylinders than the 305, but larger diameter. I believe the 301 has 7-inch.
Mark may know. I think they developed that one for Shotcrete.
Yeah, so it's mostly the 301, I believe, is mostly meant for like underground or high pressure pumping. But it works for us because the transport size. You guys are all pulling your pumps on a trailer going a long way. We're transporting it broadside, so it has to fit under the 102 for DOT.
What are we? 13, 14 feet from one end to the other, something like that.
Right. But the 301 gets us under that. So by doing that, and the 301, I believe the max output is 40 or 44 yards an hour or something like that. which basically, even with the high flow skid steers that are out there now, wouldn't be able to put what the output of that pump could actually do for volume, but you're going to gain the pressure of a high pressure pump.
So what will the pressure be on that 301 base unit then?
I don't recall.
I think they all still stay around that. What, 1100 psi, or what's it?
I think it's higher than that.
Is it?
Yeah.
What is the 305 at the current unit? What's the pressure on that one?
I believe it's 900. So it's
okay.
It's not high at all. So it's not like what you guys are used to every day as a trailer pump.
Well, I mean, what are they? What, 3,000? I don't know what the bar, but 300 psi. I think that's when it starts dumping. The valves start dumping the pressure.
Ours will dump at 2,500.
Yeah, the actual concrete pressure is usually around 1150 to 1250.
Yeah.
I like that unit, your current unit is a little lower at 900 because I think that the guys that are going to be buying it generally are going to be newer to pumping.
Correct.
I think 900 psi is plenty of pressure. You get with the right mix, you'll pump 300 feet no problem. Anything above that, I think for a newer operator, you're just you're creating a potentially more dangerous situation for little to no gain, in my opinion. So,
what do you need for shotcrete when you're doing that? What are you looking at on it?
At least 1150 is what I'd say, but it really depends. Is it a 6-inch material cylinder? Is it a 7? I mean, we shotcreted for years with an old Putzmeister TSS 45, which in its current condition was probably only about 850 psi. But you really want, like Ian's pump is 1450 psi with a 6-inch barrel, and the same as Caleb's. And that's if you do shotcrete 3-4 times a week, that's what you want. An 1150 psi machine, you can make it work. But yeah, 14 to 1500 is really kind of ideal.
Yeah. And that's one thing we, as well with our machine, is we've asked, well, you need a vibrator on a grate. For us, we don't want to put a vibrator on a grate because we feel our customers that we're selling our machine to are new to pumping, right? By themselves are running the pump.
Yep.
So we don't want to force anything through that grate. Right. If it doesn't just fall through on its own, you're going to have, right. It's a learning curve enough already, just being a new pumper, than trying to force a mix down that it can't take. Right. So
my only response or rebuttal point for that might be if you had a vibrator, then they could run a double screen and filter out any kind of debris that would plug them. I think it's a catch-22 really. Right.
Yeah.
Like I get your point too. For sure.
Yeah, because we could do a laser grate out that goes the crossways against it to do that. When you do that, you definitely start stacking up on top of the grate then, right? Then you do require a vibrator, but is it because of the stone size? Is it because the mix is too dry? Is it, so there's other things there that you should be clicking in your head first of what's going on here to cause the problem, right? So when we do our on-site training with guys, what are the things to look for, right? I mean, what does your mix look like when it first comes out of the truck? Does it flow through the grate decent? Is there enough cream in it? What size is the rock? How do you plan on priming out? Are you pumping uphill? Are you pumping downhill? There's so many variables there for a new operator that's never done it. Right. So we want to try to keep it, we always go back to the KISS method, is keep it simple, stupid, try to get it down to, to where, on the pump side, they got pump on, starts at 10% automatically, right? You can increase it up from 10, 30, 50, 80, 100. You turn it off and restart, it automatically starts at 10% again. Right, it doesn't restart it at a high rate of volume. You got forward, reverse, pump on, pump off, a horn, and the agitator at the machine. I
tell you what, the problem I have, and nobody looks forward to plugging. I get that, but I've pumped 5 jobs. I had the 3 in December when Matt and Jared come down. And then I've done the 2 by myself. And I've had a variety of mud. I have yet to plug this machine. and I hope I'm
I
jinxing.
plugged it once.
I'm hoping I'm jinxing myself, because I don't know how this thing reacts with a plug. You know, with my pump, I hear it, and depending on the sound my pump makes, I know if it's at the reducer, if I know it's somewhere up the hose, or how the hose reacts. I've yet to plug this machine, yet with it.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what those new sounds are. Because if you did have a customer call and goes asking questions and you ask me about it, I'm not gonna know what to tell them, because I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, and it's tough because our pump, if you plug it, it doesn't make any noise, right? You have to watch for the hose kick or just silent, or all of a sudden you don't hear a stroke anymore.
Something's gonna make a noise.
Well, I mean, you just don't hear it click as it shifts back and forth, because the skid steer.
But it's going to be something that I haven't heard before.
Right. Right.
But for you to train your mind or what that sound was like, what the hell was that? You haven't heard that before, so it's going to be a mental of doing that. So
yeah, there's. I mean, as far as for example, when I was out in PA, they had crushed limestone out there, and it was only 150 feet, and it was dry. And I primed out with motor mix, which they'd never seen before. I primed out.
What have they been using, Matt? Slick pack?
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah. So at 150 feet, the pumper was actually there watching it too, because he was interested in the machine as well. And he's like, we would already plugged by now, and it's only 150 feet. I was like, serious? He's like, oh yeah, we always plug it every time. It's never, so the concrete crew was amazed that we didn't plug on the first try going out, right? Yeah.
They plan to plug every time
they do.
They primed out.
Oh yeah, every time.
I'm laughing because I think I'm on a pretty bad streak of plugging almost every time. I probably shouldn't, but
no, they do. I mean, it's just they expect it every single time, and it happens every time, at least once. In 150 feet, they're lucky if it doesn't happen twice. And then with the mess at the end, when the prime comes out with motor mix, they were able to put it right in the form and go, which they were like, they turned to look at me because I stopped the pump after it primed out, and they looked at me like, now what? I was like, well, you can go, or if you're ready. He's like, well, that's it. I was like, yeah, it's out. It's ready to go. They were used to filling up a wheelbarrow or two of crap mix that, they can't use and then have to wheel back, which was new to them as well. Right. So it's a whole different process.
Great thing with the motor mix is just putting it right in the slab. That's I just, for us with our wet climate and whatnot, I have too many nightmares of bags busting open inside my clamp box. It's way more inconvenient than just packing a little tote of bentonite around. But it definitely primes better.
Humidity too. Y'all got humidity, it's raining all the time. I mean, I can see that being, not a good combination for you there.
About effective around here is having paper grocery bags, which have been mandated by the government, by the way.
And they still cost you 50 cents for every one.
They do, yes. And now I got nothing to put over the ends of the hose. Yeah,
and of course, through all our texts, I'm not going to be able to get Caleb off the mountain either of the bentonite. Apparently,
nope, you won't.
Yeah. James in the comments.
But the great thing is, what I've discovered with 4 years of YouTube and talking to people all over the world, basically, I mean, there is really one way to skin. I mean, there's more than one way to skin a cat. What works for one guy may not work for me, but for some reason it works for him. So that's great for him. Yeah. But for me, the mortar mix, it works for me. I know what to expect. I kind of know what's going on when I use it and what. Just, with all that, it's the same with y'all at bentonite. I mean, y'all used it enough. You know what to expect, and you know what's fixing to happen. It's just kind of a no-brainer for both of us. I mean, I think we are both as equally successful with our prime outs using two different products.
Oh no, I'm terrible, Jeff. You're probably running 95% in your videos, 95%. Caleb's got to be at least 80. I'm like a 40% because I'm always running stupid small line. So that's my excuse. But I'm surprised guys haven't gotten on me more in the comments. I have a horrendous rate of success with priming out in my videos. Terrible. I'll never plug up a boom, but line pumps, I'm a 50-50
Oh, you just screwed yourself on the
pay.
boom.
Yeah, that's because I don't really run them that much anymore either, especially not the big ones. So,
Yeah, you're going to get Maury's boy over there to help you water prime on 38 meter.
oh man, boy, did the people come after them for that, the water primers. And I'll post a video where I put grout in the prime port on the pump, and they'll come after me saying that I should only use water. So we made the water prime video. And then all these people come out of the woodwork that are calling them lunatics and animals for only using water to prime. You just can't win sometimes.
Man, I tell you what, I love the fact that Maury gets the pump along with his son. You know,
Yes.
Are they work for two different companies? Are they with two different?
No, they work for the same company.
Okay, same company. There's
Yes.
the paint schemes are different. So
Pardon me?
The paint scheme
well,
is different.
Yeah, the one pump they have in their fleet, the company that Maury worked for previously, when Maury went to the new company, they actually bought that pump from Maury's former employer. But it's all the same company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, when I say that, I mean, when I see, I think there was a picture on my ACPA, either the
Yes.
front page of Maury and his son. I honestly, that's awesome. Really. I think
His kid's a beauty too. He'll get mad at Maury if there's no Saturday work. He'll get mad if he doesn't make his 75 hours. He's like, no, he's like, it's like glimmers of the old school. These young pump operators that just wanted to get after it. His kid's is phenomenal. He's really good.
Yeah.
Matt, how many hoodies did you have to give out?
I'd have to look, but I'm sure we got quite a few in the box yet. It's summer now, so there's not many people want hoodies right now.
Do we each get to pick somebody in the comments?
I'm good with that.
Okay, it's Matt's spring hoodie blowout sale.
Yeah,
and we still need someone to come up with a punishment for Caleb. For
you guys pick
the
whoever it would be, if whoever it is in the comments or viewers, to send one of you guys their contact info and send it to us, and we'll send them out a hoodie or t-shirt by what they ask for.
Okay, we'll each pick one at the end here.
Yeah. So.
Well,
one of the comments that James had mentioned, the hydraulic pump should wind if you hear when it plugs out. That's one of those things where if you hear a hydraulic whine because it's going across the overflow, your overflow isn't rated for the volume that you're pushing through it. Right? So that's fluid has to go through it. So if you have, there's so many systems out there that are very underrated for their overflow for how much they're actually pushing through. Right? So if your hydraulic flow goes and hits, so you plug up, right? And you built pressure 2,500 PSI at 30 gallons a minute, your overflow, your overpressure valve should be rated for 30 gallons a minute, and it shouldn't whine. It'll just automatically dump off. There may be a tone, but it's not going to squeal.
You get a tone change. You definitely get a tone change.
Yeah, there may be a slight tone change, but as far as a squeal, that means your dump off valve is way underrated for the amount of volume that you're pushing through it, for sure. And there's a lot of equipment that's out there that all it's doing is just dumping that little bit just to satisfy it until you do something about it.
And Matt, without getting specific into manufacturers, do you see this with major pump manufacturers as well?
I've heard it on a lot of different machines. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that what eventually, when you trip that relief valve and it's not big enough, you create all that heat because the oil's having to squeeze that orifice?
Yep. Same thing.
Okay.
Same thing. And that's one thing. Go ahead.
With your dump valve being larger, when it does trip the valve, is it more prone to completely stopping the pump, which I guess could be a good thing, or what? Is there a trade-off?
Yeah. So it'll actually stop the pump altogether to where until you get to where either you stop it remotely or the blockage clears. So you'll hear just a slight tone change, but other than that, your biggest notifier right away is you won't hear it shift. Right? So if it's dumping off to the side over the relief, you'll hear the tone change, but then after that, either you stop it, pump reverse, back it up, and then try it again. And sometimes you can work it through depending on where you're at in the hose and what the scenario is. But yeah,
is that easily adjustable on the Mud Demon? Could you adjust the relief pressure down if you wanted?
You can.
So say for like a newer customer, and I said, hey, can you set this thing to 600 PSI? Because I'm still learning the machine and learning plugs. Is that something that can be relatively easily done? Or
yeah, you can. It's just a cap you take off and screw Allen wrench. The biggest thing is that relief valve has to be rated for the max gallons per minute that you can send to the machine, right? So you can send 40 gallons to the machine and it's already going to dump off 10 gallons of that because it can't use it, right? So there's a priority valve with that as well. That'll do that.
How is that working with not having the nitrogen backup?
So it does have an accumulator in it.
Where's
There is an accumulator with our system as well. It's just not the same as like what a ball valve is, where you have to. It's no different than your.
Even on my rock valve, I've got an accumulator tank on it.
Yeah. So
Matt, do you know much about ball valves?
I do a little bit.
I know nothing. I'm just looking to get educated. Like what are the positives? And I think they're a little bit more expensive to get into. And there's certain web or YouTube pages or YouTube sites where they rave about the ball valve.
They do. They're
what do you
they're
find?
cheaper.
Okay.
But they won't. I shouldn't say. Some of them can reverse. Most of them have no reverse. So that when you break it apart, it's going to be a mess.
Yeah.
Right? You have to have the nitrogen canister filled often as well.
That has the big nitrogen bottle.
That has a big nitrogen bottle sticking up above the back, right? And they're usually mechanical. Some of them now are hydraulic rams, like your Olin's are pretty. I would say probably the best out there as a ball valve. But yeah.
And what's the advantage in terms of pumpability? Is there any? Or is it
I
just
think
price?
for the guys that are out in Cali, South Cal, that are pumping 8 or 9 slump concrete through 2-inch hose, it's quick and lightweight.
And it doesn't kick around much.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
it's always a pea gravel mix they're using,
Always,
isn't it?
always. It's
Always.
We need to get Anthony on here. He seems to be a wealth of knowledge. West Coast concrete. We should get.
He's the guy I was thinking of when I mentioned.
Yeah.
Volvo.
I can also get in touch with the pool company I work with. They use a plaster pump, and it's essentially so. I'm pretty sure it's a ball valve, and I mean that thing when you're pumping, dude, it. You know how we have material cylinders, and every time it switches, this thing is like no matter how fast you're going, this thing is just it sounds like it's just hammering the plaster out, but it's just kind of almost barely coming out the end. But yeah, when they get a plug, it's a mess. Like there's no way to relieve that pressure.
No.
You just gotta look away, pull that clamp, and try to get that plug out.
Oh,
some of them do have an adjustable bolt where the cone, the rear cone off the back of the ball valve, actually will you turn a nut and it'll open it up slowly so it doesn't just burst open. But it makes a mess all over. But the only way to do it safely is at the machine right there, as far as safely, right?
As safe as you can get.
Yeah.
I think that would be big for us. I think we need to talk to Anthony and see if we can.
Yeah, he swears by his Olin. He loves it.
But I think he's got the 450, the 545. Isn't that a? It's not a ball valve, is it?
Yeah, it is.
It is. Yeah.
It is.
It's the bigger. It's
a bigger. It's one of the bigger Ohlins that they make. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, his is. Yeah.
I'll go to work on him.
Saying there's also that kid out in California. I can't remember his name right now. But
Yeah, he hasn't posted in a while.
Yeah, he hasn't posted in a while, but he posts every once in a while, and he also runs an Olin.
He still does.
Oh, is his a ball Olin too?
Yep.
Well,
most of those guys run Olins out there.
We had a ready mix company up here about 10 years ago that bought a ball valve, and they gave it up after like not even a month of trying to run it. It just wouldn't pump our mix. We get a lot of 1/2-inch rock, but we don't get pea gravel. We really don't see a lot of pea gravel. It just didn't work in our market.
Well, after we had the recession in 08, 09, 10, or that area, we actually had a couple of guys show up with those, and they tried to start their own pump market, and they were calling me and asking me, how am I working? I was like, well, I've got a rock valve. And and of course they had ball valves. They were from California, and I just told them that's not going to work here. These concrete companies here, they don't give a shit what kind of pump you have. They're going to send you what they want to send you, and their pumps stayed in the shop trying to get the hydroxide built and stuff. I'm not sure whatever happened to them, but they had a hard time right off the bat.
So Vegetable Super just said something about a Reinert pump. For guys that have Reinert pumps, I don't know how many people know the history. Mark probably could do a better job at this than me, but there was something between Schwing and Reinert where the patent was used by Schwing, and Reinert had the permission to use it, or something like that, and vice versa. So basically, their pump, a Reinert pump design S tube, is like the Schwing 305, like what we use, from what I understand. Yeah. But I don't know how Reinert's doing now, though. I know the old man had passed away like 2 years ago or something, but I don't know how they're doing as a company recent years. I don't know.
Is the pump that Concrete Pump Supply is now marketing, is that also based on Reinhardt? It's got the swing away hopper design. The what do they call it again? I was at the show. I forgot what it's called. Epic 45.
Yeah.
I keep getting Sean to get one of those up here. I want to try one out. I think it's I like the point of it breaking like that, where you break we'll swing the hopper out.
Yeah.
But I tell you, even with the pushes, I don't understand why these guys don't make that where the hopper separates from the bottom of the hopper. I love that about my swing. That I can
two-piece hopper,
my hopper off and access everything right there, And even with these boom pumps, when to take the S tube out, you got to basically turn it upside down and then and then maneuver it out the back and all that. If you take the hopper, if you were able to take that top half of the hopper loose and get it off, that would make it so much easier for wear parts and everything else. I don't know how many times I've almost passed out from hanging upside down in there trying to undo.
For a few years, Jeff Conform made Putzmeister style S tubes where you could remove the spline shaft. The spline shaft actually attached to the S tube with 2 bolts.
I've seen those.
So which would make servicing way easier. I understand they got out of that market just because they just don't sell enough S tubes to make it worth it. It's not an item that gets replaced in most markets. That gets replaced every even every year and a half, right? But they did have it. I don't know if they ever had one for the trailer pumps. I'm not sure, but I know for boom pumps they definitely had one for a couple of years, anyways.
It just makes me giggle when I change the wear parts on my swing versus my boom pump. I mean, there's 8. If I'm doing it by myself, there's 6 or 8 hours difference in that process.
Yeah.
And the boom pump is just so much harder with that S tube, and not being able to take that top half of that hopper off and set it to the side. It's just crazy.
Well, Jeff, we have a Schwing dealer in the comments here, so get his number.
Well, it's not the swing; it's the problem. It's the puts.
No, that's what I mean. You could replace it with a Schwing.
Well, that's true too.
That's what I was getting at.
A lot of that two-piece hopper split, where they're split like that, is like Putzmeister and the other guys that don't have the split hopper, is they require that hopper as part of the strength to hold the back end together. That's why it's all one piece, to where the Schwing, you could take the hopper off and still pump concrete with it. Not that you're going to have a big hopper. The hopper is literally a hopper, exactly what it's for, where everybody else uses the hopper as a strength component to try to make the back end stronger. Right.
I was gonna say, do Schwing like high pressure pumps? Are they still two piece?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, your pressure's in the bottom half, not in the top.
Yeah.
So, Matt,
go ahead.
Could that be, like it was explained to me by a Schwing engineer, that with the design of the S tube, where your shift cylinders connect, it requires a lot more force to shift it over, whereas with a rock valve, you don't have that leverage working against you, and there's a lot less force required. Could that be why the Schwing wouldn't need the entire structure of the hopper, just to keep things together versus the Putzmeister? Is that a possibility?
I
don't see that in my head.
I don't know. I would have to see what the analysis would be on it, as far as how they come up with that. Mark, I think, was one of the ones with that as well.
Mark will know.
Yeah. But
well, I think Mark and Greg have been going back and forth on the Schwing and the puts in the comments.
This has been happening for 40 years. 40 years, it ain't going to get solved tonight.
Well, it's been all in good fun and respect. I mean, they both are respectful, and I get that, but there's some differences for sure.
Yeah. No, it just comes to because like Putzmeister, you get their back ends are almost a casted unit, aren't they? Are they welded together?
The bottom is.
Their bottom is all cast, right?
Yeah, the bottom is.
When you say cast, you mean like one structural component?
Yeah.
Or
it's not a welded together piece.
No, it's the side panel slope, and then they weld to the skirt around the bottom.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's all there's no, I don't believe there's any cast metal in the Putz hopper. It's all conformed and welded and fabricated. Yeah. Whereas the Schwing is actually cast on the bottom, is it not? It's really heavy.
Above the bottom, no.
No, on the lower half. Like I know our big big high rise pump is.
Oh, I don't know about the high rise, but it's two piece. No. You got the back half that holds, or the back quarter that holds, the back piece and the
right. So by doing a cast,
the mirror plate, and then the discharge, and then you got the other piece that's basically bolts to the, as far as my pump goes, bolts to the trailer. But,
yeah, so the output side of the rock valve, where your discharge is, by making that cast, allows you to put material like in the strengthening ribs where the pressure is, to where if you're welding that plate together, when you do that with ribs and weld it deforms it enough, and you end up with hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold across it. So unless if that plate goes in to be heat treated and annealed to be the molecules re-straightened back out, by having a casted material that can handle the pressure and it's equal, handles that load better than a welded together piece. Now there's bolts through, and you can do a welded together end as well, but it really depends on where it's being welded at in those scenarios, right? Of what the kind of material because how they're welded, with what wire they're welding with it, what gas they're using, is it subcore? I mean, there's so many different manufacturing aspects that go into that making that piece.
Well, wait a minute, they're not using a 611.
No.
like I use.
No, when you have to start meeting certain requirements or whatever, there's processes, certain materials, preheating, post heating. I mean, there's a process to it, and sometimes their easiest answer is just throw more material at it. We'll make it stronger by making it a 2-inch plate instead of a 1-inch plate with ribs on it. Right. So
Craig has a good comment. Just rebuilt one of the Liberas with the 2-piece spectacle plate. Says it's pretty sweet for maintenance. I wondered how that was. It looked like it would be pretty slick, but I hadn't talked to anybody who'd done one. So that's good information to know.
Yeah, we looked at those. That was something Dan and I was looking at, because that's kind of my part of being a owner operator of a multi-$100 company. Is I'm kind of the maintenance guy, so I was looking at the wear parts on that. Was that the 30X XXT? Is that what we were
the show there?
I was looking at the wear parts and stuff on that. They're being split. But
we haven't talked actually since we did the LeBaire videos.
No,
I forgot it's been that long.
Yeah, you come over to the States and watched them pump, didn't you?
Yeah, we were down in Bellingham with the guys from Western Concrete Pumping for a day there and went out with the machine.
Well, let me ask you this. So what was the manufacturer of the pumps for that? I mean, it's the LeBaire concrete pump, but what is the manufacturer of the hydraulic pumps?
Rexroth pumps. Main pumps are Rexroth. Yes. Okay.
What is the manufacturer of the valves on top?
I believe everything is the old school German Rexroth, Have. I'm assuming it's Have boom valves. That is a legit German machine. Yeah.
Rexroth owns Hydroforce now, so most of anything in the U.S. is Hydroforce labeled as Rexroth.
Oh, okay.
So there's only like 4 major hydraulic manufacturers or valve manufacturers, and they're pretty much all owned in cahoots with each other. It's like a large monopoly throughout the world of it, because it's very hard to get those components.
And
Matt, are any of these Rexroth pumps being sold by the Chinese vendors? Are any of them legit, or are they all knockoff? I see it all the time on my Instagram where they're marketing Rexroth hydraulic pumps and valves, and it's some Chinese companies.
They're mostly knockoffs. Okay. They're mostly knockoffs.
Well, here's the point I'm trying to make. You pick whatever cab and chassis you're comfortable with. I like the Kenworth. The reason I like the Kenworth is in Fort Worth, Kenworth has a 24/7 shop. They're only closed on Christmas Day. I can take my truck and drop it off Friday afternoon for a service maintenance, and I can pick it up Sunday afternoon, pay them for it, and drive off. My trucks are Concords. Concords have Rexroth pumps. They've got Bosch forwarding, reverse valves, the high pressure valves, and all that. And you look at Alliance, you look at Puts and Schwing, they all run Rexroth pumps.
They're all the same.
They're all the same.
They use the same brand.
There can be some differences in other components, but for most part, the major components are either whatever cab and chassis you like, and then Rexroth pumps, and that seems to be the standard for concrete pumps. And that's why, in looking at Concord pumps, that's why I've always been a fan of theirs. Because you look on my trucks, there's not a lot of bells and whistles up there. There's not a lot of copper wire running up between the cylinders, on them. They keep it simple.
Yeah, no, they've done a good job with that, and that's when we were actually down hanging out with the guys at Western Concrete Pumping. Michael was showing me he's got a couple. They have Concords, they have a mixed fleet too, and he's just showing me how simple it is. He's like, "Look, it's all like it's just mechanical relays. It's just like relays and hydraulic valves and solenoids and relays, right? Very, very simple.
Yeah.
And it works. Like, that being said, that LeBaire pump, the way that thing pumped concrete, I have never been around a machine that smooth ever. It was insane. there's a lot of intricacies to it. I don't know that it would be the pump for, just to throw any operator on. But performance-wise, I was astounded, and I didn't expect much in terms of pump kit and whatnot because, I was I'm a Putz guy, and I like the Putz pump kit. I was more intrigued by the outrigger design and the short rig system. But the most impressive thing I saw that day, honestly, was the pump kit on that thing. It was very, very impressive. So that sums up my LeBaire experience in a nutshell for sure. I would definitely look at one if I were in the market for a 38 meter machine. That one that we had out that day would be very close to the top of the list for sure.
Yeah. I definitely have done something, above and beyond with the outriggers, the way they have designed those. And like I said, Sean, when we had him on, I think the LeBaire is a sexy pump. I like how the back outriggers have that curve to them.
Yeah.
I think they're distinctive when you see them. I think they're just they're a good looking pump. But okay, so what's the deal with the gold dog and the silver dog on the Max?
I posted up on my Instagram. I actually found a picture from the Mac website. It's like it's in one of their manuals. It's extremely inconclusive. It used to be that the gold dog was all Mac parts, but then it says because there's a lot of custom Mac builds a lot of custom trucks. This is subject to variation. So it basically means nothing.
It's by year, right?
Is it by year?
Yeah. So up until the 70s, the Gold Bulldog, I believe, was from what I recall, is all American, all Mac product, engine, chassis, drivetrain, right? And as that changed, as supplies and started subbing out axles and stuff like that, then it was a silver Bulldog in it. And then that went all the way up until early 2000s, mid 2000s, where they switched to where now it's an American. The gold is an American built machine, and the silver is imported machine or imported truck or something like that, imported components, I believe, something on that order.
Bill seems to think the gold dog is priority when you take it to the shop.
That's because it's probably the most expensive.
Somebody in the comments on maybe my TikTok video said it's not gold, it's brass. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, you win.
The original Mac Bulldogs and were gold plated because
Were
people
they actually?
used to rip them off. Yeah.
Wow, that would not last long in today's day and age.
That's how the hood ornaments have the chain inside it, like on your old 70s.
Like on a Jaguar or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was because they were gold plated and people would try and steal them, and they could hit it to try to knock it off, and it just flex over and flip back up.
Compared to the things we worry about in today's day and age, we had it pretty good back then when that was our biggest problem, was hood ornaments being stolen, when that was actually like a punishable offense.
Yeah.
Man, times have changed.
I'd like to make a comment that's in the comments, and it's to Greg, and it's no disrespect to Greg at all, but I have seen a Schwing have a catastrophic failure that actually killed 2 guys. So I think all companies have had an issue at one point or the other.
I know the one, Jeff, that was probably 15, 20 years ago now in Texas, right?
Probably about 15 years ago. But anyway, it's no disrespect to Greg, and I want him to understand that. I'm not disrespecting him at all. But I think all companies have had an issue at one point or the other.
I think they have. It's how they handle it, right? I mean, Schwing and Putz have been around forever building pumps.
Yeah.
So, they're going to have had their issues too. I don't know. I think nothing in today's world is built the way it was even 10 years ago. Unfortunately, we're just in a different time. So it's all about how it's handled, I think.
Yeah, but they are mentioning a couple of companies there that I definitely wouldn't even look at. Also in the comments, but I'm not going to. Yeah. It's not the place or time for doing it.
Yeah. So who do we want to give hoodies to? And
we still need a punishment.
Yeah, guys in the comments, what should Caleb do for chopping his sponge? Should he drain 100 feet of 2-inch hose filled with shotcrete by hand?
Oh god!
And if you got 50 footers, I want to see a couple 50 footers out there.
I got 50 footers.
You're allowed to use
I always run 150 footer in the pool, so then the guys don't have to drag around to clamp.
You're allowed to use a ladder, but it cannot be any wetter than a 75 mil slump either, or 3-inch.
No, I will promise that if I have to shake out shotcrete hose, I will not wet up the last load on the floor to make it easy.
I think that would be suitable if anybody. Oh, Greg says break and shake 250 a 3-inch. I don't think Caleb owns 3-inch.
I do not own 3. I want 3-inch only because I've been doing a lot of big volume jobs, and I feel like I could do them faster, quicker, and more efficiently if I were to have 3-inch hose. So
Got
maybe in
some
the
3-inch
future,
braided you could use.
no braid, steel braid. No, if it's steel braid, I want no steel braid.
No, but Caleb, then you get bigger hose, then you got to get a bigger pump, and where does it end? It's this, you know what I mean? And where does it start? Where does it stop? Right? You know?
Maybe the next one would be a bigger pump, and then I can just use the 60 HP for everything else, and then I can get my 70 for when a guy needs me to dump 140 yards.
My theory with the bigger line pump is I get paid by the hour, so I don't really want to go any quicker, to tell you the truth.
I should downgrade. I need a TK40.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what,
go.
Caleb.
They don't make it anymore.
Caleb, I'll take a Crown and Coke.
I'll find an old one.
Billy
Go ahead.
Bob. Next time we're at Gillies over in Vegas, I'll take a Crown and Coke.
Crown and Coke.
So
I
want
want one or two of those.
I want to give a hoodie to a guy that I think he's been present for almost every live stream. Super knowledgeable, always has a lot of really great input. Also has a YouTube channel that everybody should check out.
It's Greg.
Greg Huey. I love to hear you talk in a few videos, Greg. I know you've got a wealth of knowledge to share with us. We got to get you to start talking in your YouTube vids because the content, the video is top notch. But I think we should. My pick is Greg Huey for a hoodie, 100%.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah.
I will, but I will also say, Greg, I will never own a 4-inch line in my life. Never.
Yeah.
Okay, who else? Jeff, who's your pick?
Well, Scott took mine. Has Mark gotten one yet? I'll tell you
Not
what.
yet, but he's going to be getting a machine, so one will go with him.
Okay, Mark in. I'll tell you someone I think needs one is James Samaro. He's here quite a bit, and he doesn't seem to throw something out there that might ruffle a feather or two, and I like that. So James Samaro is my pick. I think he's in the Northeast anyway. So that's my pick.
Caleb?
Oh no, I gotta pick someone. All right. Well, I got a couple guys. I think I don't even know if he's here tonight, but he follows all of our pages and he comments on almost all of my stuff. And that would be, I think his name is Mark as well. The shotcreter out of Seattle.
Oh, Mark Robinson. Yeah, he's in Bellevue.
Robinson.
He's a good guy.
Yep. I think he deserves a hoodie.
Yeah. Good call. Good pick.
I watch, and he also has a YouTube channel. He posts just like 1-minute clips of the jobs he's doing, and I watch every single one of them.
Welcome to another episode of shotcrete.com.
He's got shotcrete.com.
Yeah, he's got a great voice for it. I love his videos. He's good.
Yep. So that's my pick, Mark Robinson.
Okay.
I don't know if Mark Williams is still on there or not, but I want to show Mark something. I had to bring this out. I'm really proud of making this blowout cap. So, in case I know Caleb was like, you got to use it. I just can't bring myself to use this thing. I want to use that old rusty thing I built out there. So, but anyway, in case y'all seen what I've been up to the other day.
I love it, Jeff. I love it. You're going to hate me for this. Can I send you an $8 air pressure gauge? Don't be so damn stubborn. Don't be so stubborn. When I come down to Texas, I'm bringing an air gauge and a 3/8 drill bit and a tap.
You have to do that, but yes, you have to let him not look at the gauge and use his thumb and see how accurate he actually
Oh,
is.
that's great.
Yes.
Done. Okay, done. Watch him be spot on too, and then I just put my tail between my legs and go back to Canada.
I honestly have no clue what I just know I'm just throwing numbers out there. I'm just guessing.
I'm not gonna lie, I've tried the finger trick. I tried it for like 15 seconds, and I'm just like, this is too much. I'd rather just turn it on, turn it off, and go find the plug. And then when it gets to the end, be like, oh, I have enough pressure, or I don't. How fast it's moving.
I'll say it on here, but Zach, the guy that I'm usually pumping for, we've developed hand signals, which is one, disconnect, two is thumb it, and or if we're pretty much done and he wants to blow out, then I get the.
Oh boy!
So, but that's only. Hey, that just stays between us.
It's a whole different channel, friends. Oh boy! Wow, Matt, who do you got? Who's your pick?
I think I'm gonna go with Mike Anderson.
Yeah, good one. He was it was a close between him and Greg. It was a close one. I'm glad you picked Mike. Excellent. That's great. So how do we get their info? How do we do this without them sending it publicly? Do they just email it to our
I just got to make a short, and I know Mark Robinson is going to email me because he comments on every single one of my shorts for sure.
Okay.
If one of you guys will make a short with Greg Huey, James Samaro, Mark Robinson, and Mike Anderson to contact you to get their Mud Demon hoodie, and they need to let you know what size or if they want a hoodie or a t-shirt.
I think my email is in my
so if they're on here listening still, they can just contact one of you guys.
If you go to my channel and go over to my description or whatever, I usually have my email over there, which I'll tell you is jtucker1239@yahoo.com. You just put that in. I'll tell you again, jtucker1239@yahoo.com. If Mark or James will email me, then I'll get that information to you. So
excellent.
But it should be in my description of my last 2 or 3 videos also, because well, and we'll talk about this. Matt has made me a sales representative for the Mud Demon. So if you would like to look in my description and contact me, I can sell you a Mud Demon, and I may be the one to come do the
training
part where I show you how to open it and run it.
Orientation.
The orientation.
Yeah.
So you'll show the hand signals. I can't teach those.
Most of them.
No, that's great. Congratulations, Jeff. That's a big opportunity, and I truly feel there is a market for the Mud Demon. It's an untapped market, and I think it's going to do well. And I think it being based on a Schwing product gives it a huge advantage over those that have tried this concept before.
Right.
No, I think it's great.
I've had a lot of, I'm not going to say a lot, but a few opportunities to represent companies, but I feel like Matt's company is one that's a solid company, and I feel like it's an easy transition for me to be able to put my name along with that. And I'm just not answering every email I get that someone's trying to hand me a product. I don't want to be that guy. I want to be able to, if I'm going to put my name on something or a value on something, I want it to be a product that's really worth having. And I feel like this is one of them. So it was a pretty easy decision for me to come on board with them to help them try to push this product.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting, Jeff. Are you guys planning on being at World of Concrete next year? Is that in the cards?
Yes. And the plan is, what we'd like to do is have the boom or the placer there for unveiling as well. So we've talked with Schwing about either being in their booth or us being on our own in the main hall as well, in the North Hall. So
that's both. Exciting. That's awesome.
So
Matt, are you gonna come down this summer, and are we gonna put some shotcrete through one of these booms?
We will see about the shock crate through the boom. The right now,
As
right now,
enticing as that sounds.
right now we do still have our booms that can be used here with the guys locally that are running it, but we're changing some of that because we turn it into just a placer only. So there's options there. Most of the guys like yourselves want it as a placer.
Yep.
And they don't want the pump on it. They just want to be able to reach out, put the mud down heavy, right? So, and they can reach that 35 feet easy, either direction, so you could sit inside a 70-foot bay and sit in the center and hit it all.
Yep.
Where for the same, if you're just buying the placer, you're already 20, 30 grand less than a complete line dragging setup. Right. And so for the competition that way wise, it's really no comparison. It unfolds in a 12-foot ceiling, reaches out 35 feet, so you can have everything cribbed up or on chairs except for one path down the middle where the skid steer is. The skid steers can basically drag your hose for you, where the line dragging requires still a lot of people to move hose as well. So, and it can't do nothing vertical. So
no, all these high volume jobs I've been doing, every time I'm there, I'm like, man, if we had this little boom, this thing could just sit right on the outside, and no one would have to handle hose really. And it would just be so easy.
Yeah, you talking about, I've been on a couple here recently that's had a lot of stepping pads and steps and things like that. You talking about be nice is to be able to have it on something like that where you're not having hoses and you're worried about the weight moving the grade of those steps and some of that stuff. It would definitely been nice to have that.
Yeah.
Greg mentioned in the comments he wants to give the hoodie to a young kid. So Matt, if you want to send me one,
okay,
I'll give it to one of our younger guys, and I'll make a YouTube short out of it if that sounds cool and fair.
Yeah. If any of those guys or anybody on there that knows somebody that would greatly appreciate it more or something like that, we're not afraid to send another hoodie out with them or whatever. If they've got somebody on their crew or something like that, that would be fine as well. I'm all for the young kids doing it. I'm young compared to most of the guys that are out there, or at least I think I am, but maybe not.
We got
Jeff and I.
We got to get the young generation involved.
Yeah.
Us 40 and 50-year-olds aren't going to be around that much longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it goes by quick, man. Here I'm talking about how much I like running line pumps. There might only be another 5 or 10 years of that. So,
if you have 5 or 10 years left, that means I got what, 20, 25.
I'll be excited about it, Caleb, because now that my time is limited, I'm actually, I don't know. It's a little depressing.
I really feel bad for you, Scott, because I'm just now fixing to go from 3 inch to 2.5. So I don't know are you going to get 1.5 inch hose?
We actually have some. We used to use it when we would do this this like micro self-leveling topping. We have some 1.5 inch.
So,
I should try and put 1/2 inch stone through it just for a YouTube vid. You and I can try it when you come up.
You had to get Dan's hammer.
We have I think it's like 50. Yeah, I got like 50 feet of it in our yard.
The plaster pump the pool company uses, they use 1.5 inch hose. Yeah. I hold that thing and I'm like, dang, I wish I had a concrete mix that could go through this.
You put your thumb over to spray it. I mean,
yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
Oh man.
Yeah, I feel like this 2.5 inch might have added 10 years to my career.
Well, thank us later, right?
Right, exactly.
Well, I guess we're almost at 2.5 hours now.
That's a good one.
We're running 2.5. What do you guys want to close out with? You want to go around the squared circle here and closing statements?
What is the punishment? Do I have to shake out 100 feet of 2.5 inch or 2 inch shotcrete, or?
I want to see 100 feet of 2 inch shotcrete. Bonus points if it's 50 footers, and I don't want to see anything wetter than a 3 inch slump. And you can use a ladder. You're allowed to use a ladder and get creative. if you want to put your lips on it and try and blow it out, you can do that. But no mechanical advantages or electronics.
No mechanical advantages.
Yeah,
All right.
I
be
would
creative.
say
Be creative.
I
You
would
can be
say
creative.
no bentonite, prime with motor mix, and use a bag. Do
To
it.
blow out. Use a bag.
Do it just like what Jeff
Well, that's
does.
too easy because it's gonna
That's
work. That's
not
no
what he
fun.
doesn't do every day. No
Yeah, no,
bentonite in the
that's true.
hopper.
Okay,
No
okay.
bentonite in the prime out.
Caleb,
No,
I want
see,
a double
you
crown
can't
of
you
Coke.
can't do the prime though, because then the prime goes against the customer. So if I just like do a water prime or something like that, then it takes me twice as long to get the concrete to the end of the hose. I can't really do that because that's
Yeah.
taking up the customer's time,
Well,
not my
I
time.
just think it's too easy because it's gonna work. Like that's no fun. Like, yeah.
I'll tell you what,
Punishment.
Caleb. I'll just a double crown of Coke and I'm good.
All right. Well,
100 feet of
I will
2-inch,
do a-
3-inch slump.
I will do 100 feet of 2-inch shotcrete, no more than a 3-inch slump, and I will still buy you guys all a drink at World of Concrete next year.
At Gilly.
Excellent.
And we get the bull remote this time.
Yeah, we'll get there early enough that the
And-
bull's still running this time.
Yeah, we definitely got to get there. That has to be done.
Yes. Matt, what do you say?
I'm good for it.
Okay. Final thoughts, final words?
I
Man,
just
I'm-
want to
I'm-
appreciate everybody's time and doing it. Everybody talking about it. It's great to see it moving along. For you guys that are professional pumpers every day, it's you guys register with what market that we're trying to hit, that we're not trying to go out there to take work away from you guys, that type of thing, right? And it's just in general, everybody in the pumping community has been great wealth of knowledge for anybody that comes to it. So if there's any young guys that are out there looking to do it, just ask questions. Everybody's more than willing to help. It's been a great community to get to know, and glad to be a part of it. So
I think, Matt, you guys are after the market that is kind of a PIA for us guys that are just pumpers anyhow. It's a lot of the jobs that are more of a thorn in our side than anything. So yeah, it doesn't hurt my feelings whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. No, thanks again for all the time and everything.
I appreciate you coming out, Matt, and sharing your knowledge too.
Yeah.
Jeff, what
I'll
do you say?
I want to thank the guys that came out and participated in our live tonight. It's always great to have those guys, and those guys share their knowledge in the comments. And even if we don't agree, we agree to disagree and be respectful to each other. The second thing is it is Memorial Day weekend. Thank you for those guys that have given their life to give us this opportunity for what we do and how we do it, and how we enjoy the things that we have that are basically luxury items, to be able to do what this right here, this live feed, and not worry about, someone taking that from us. So thanks those guys, thanks those families that endured that, and thanks to the guys that still take care of our borders and take care of our country for us. But and third of all, just I appreciate you guys coming out and doing this kind of live feed and be able to enjoy discussing and talking about our differences that are successful and how we do our industry and how we perform. So I think this has become a really good thing. I hate that it's been a couple of months since we've all gotten together, and hopefully it won't be that big a span on the next one. But anyway, but thanks those that support us and let us enjoy what we do.
Tough act to follow, Jeff. That's a tough one, boy. I should let you go last. No, I think, yeah, huge thanks to everybody that's followed us and helped make this channel and our respective channels what they are. It's really exciting to see everything going on, watching Caleb grow his business, and his work diversify, and it just has been a pleasure to watch that. To see the Mud Demon progress and coming to market is also super exciting. Just getting to know all you guys, getting to know Caleb and Jeff and Matt, and just the camaraderie and whatnot has been great as well. And mostly the support from all you guys that come out and chat with us in the comments section. And sit down for 2+ hours of BS about concrete pumps. I think it's amazing, and I want to thank everybody as well. I hit 9,000 subscribers earlier this week, and I'm the goal is 10 by World of Concrete. 10 by World of Concrete. I have an absolutely crazy idea. Hopefully within a month or two here, I'll know that I could actually make this happen or be in a position to make this happen. A celebration for hitting, if I do hit 10,000 by World of Concrete. I got something cooking here. So stay tuned on that. But big thanks to all of you, and I appreciate everybody who came out tonight.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I look forward to this.
No, I also want to thank all you guys for, I'm new to all this, and I'm not near as experienced as you guys, but I just started doing YouTube videos, and you guys welcomed me in with open arms, and I'm very grateful and appreciative, and I've never got any negative feedback really of anything I've ever done. So, thank you guys. I greatly appreciate it.
Appreciate you being the young guy in the group, Caleb. There can only be so many of us old guys, so we need you more than you need us. So,
before we leave, how much longer are we, Caleb, on the new one? When's the new baby coming?
September 11th is the new.
Is it really?
When the new baby is supposed to be here? Yeah.
Okay. So because we haven't talked really for a few months, so you've had some big events. You've purchased a new house.
Yes.
And you have another child coming on the 11th. So congratulations to you. I'm proud of you, and I'm glad to see that coming.
Thank you. And I know I said last live stream that I was going to do some big gender reveal party and all that stuff.
Did you do the color through the pump?
No, we didn't do that. It just was a lot of work with everything going on, buying a house and everything. But I will say it is a girl. I am having another girl, so I am forever a girl dad.
Well, after having my daughter, I'd have a dozen more if it was up to me.
I know. I love it. I mean, if you guys didn't see it earlier, she walked in here and she just walked right up to me and just sat on my lap. So there's boy or girl, there's just nothing better than that. So I'm grateful.
Mine's 7. When I pick her up from school and I see what those little 7-year-old boys are like compared to the girls, I'm very thankful she's a girl. Now, when we get into like middle grades of high school, into those mid-teen years, I think my position on this might change greatly. but for now, I find it much better and less stressful. Subject to change.
Just ask Matt. He's got a few boys hanging around.
I got 4 boys.
That's 4?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Hey, if I have another one, just like give me some of that luck, because I need a boy. I need one.
Matt, is this why you're broadcasting from work? Because it's the only place you can get silence in the background?
No, actually, my house is usually pretty quiet. So
wow, well done.
2 of them are out of the house, and the other 2 there's only one still in school, and now he's going to be 11th grade. So that's where you are. So
I really think the boys need their own YouTube channel without a filter.
Yeah, I'd be afraid of what they might say. Only one of them works for me. Yeah. They all have worked for me, but only one stuck out.
So you got one. So the rest of you have 3 girls and 1 boy.
Yeah. No.
Don't tell the big one I said that.
No, I can't complain. All my kids are doing great. They're good. They contribute to society just as anybody should. So I can't complain. So no.
Yep.
Well, guys, we'll try and do another one of these. Not 3 months from now again. We'll try and hit another one hopefully in 3 to 4 weeks. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
No, that sounds good.
And if you guys want to have any topics, just in our we always read our comments. We may not answer everyone, even though we try to. If y'all have some topics y'all want us to go over, just leave them in our comments in our videos, and we'll try to bring those up and see what kind of light we can shed on them for y'all. So,
yeah,
absolutely. We'll talk to y'all soon.
Sounds good.
Great chatting with you guys.
All right, thanks, guys.
Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.